and not getting the rights that are afforded other employees who are legal is not, right in my eyes. It's a moral issue.
And the con is, of course, that they are breaking the law. They're producing fraudulent documents. That's not to say I agree 100% with the con or with the pro. I think this creates a moral dilemma, what to do with the injured party, the unauthorized. Anyone want to add what your own personal feelings about this? Forget about what the law is, per se. My own feeling is if you employ someone, they're injured on the job, you should take care of them, regardless whether they're legal or not.
Right, that's my stance. IRCA was enacted to put the onus on the employer, and they know, most times they know they're hiring an undocumented worker. I guess I won't say most, but some of these individuals produce these Social Security numbers that have been passed around, but they need to do the diligence, fill out the I-9 form, get in touch with Social Security Administration, see if this number has popped up on the radar 3, 4, 5 times. Upon getting knowledge, they are to immediately terminate that employee, no questions asked. But as Joe said, I mean, just any personal thoughts, Sandy?
I think one of the reasons the workers' comp law was enacted 100 years ago, we had employment situations which were completely unsafe. People were being killed left and right. As machinery came in to play, workers' comp is an incentive for employers to provide a safer workplace. It's kind of a trade-off. You don't have to, if somebody's injured, you don't have to go through a full-blown lawsuit. You don't have to prove fault. The trade-off is the worker doesn't get paid as much as they would for an injury as in a traditional lawsuit. If somebody knows they can hire undocumented workers and ultimately won't have to pay them if they're injured, I think that's less of an incentive for the worker or the workplace to be a safe environment, to pay attention to safety issues. So I think that kind of comes into play.
Right, these employers are going to hire these individuals in droves, in large numbers, because they know, hey, we don't have to give them comp benefits. We're not going to be held accountable or reliable.
We don't have to put that guard on the machine to keep the arm from getting
Is
cut
this
off.
an Occupy Maryville?
Power to
Pitch our tents, yes.
I believe one of the biggest issues is the lack of clarity throughout the whole nation. Okay? We have a hodgepodge of different laws in different states.
Patchwork.
When there should be, that's right.
Patchwork
there
laws.
should be all standard. And I think that would help clarify things.
So that's
because I don't see what's the difference between a worker in California and a worker in Indiana. There should be none. We're all trying to do the same thing and try to provide, and so we should be treated the same.
Almost all states do treat the injured workers the same in regard to certain benefits, medical, lost time, and permanency. One of the biggest variances would be the value of the permanency. Justin, again, could verify, in my experience, you take a laminectomy, a simple laminectomy in Indiana, one level, person returns to work. Dr. Javers, whatever the doctor, may write about 10% of the whole person. If it happened last year, they're entitled to about $14,000. You go 10 miles west of here, same person, same result, but they're going to get in the area of 20% of the person based upon their permanency rate. They don't go by degrees there. And right now, if they're a maximum rate in Illinois, they're going to get close to $70,000. So you have a 5-to-1 ratio between the states. Now, when you say uniformity, there's other questions that come into this, and they're political questions, there's no doubt about it. Do we want to attract employers within the state? Illinois has lost thousands and thousands of jobs. And as an example, the ripple effect, and again, Justin is in Illinois, he can verify this, but I have many friends still practicing there. The high point in Illinois, they had 80,000 filings in 1 year. Last year, they were down to about 50,000. The employment is going down. The state is losing jobs. So should the benefits be high and the employers leave the state? Should the benefits be lower and we draw more employers to the state?
If you level that playing field, you eliminate that disparity, right?
Well, if you level the playing field, you have many variables. You live in New York, the cost of living is up here. You live in Podunk, Oklahoma, it's way down here. What are the benefits there? Should they be the same as New York? I mean, there's so many issues that would come into play. Leveling the playing field is one of those terms like fair. What is fair? Well, sometimes fair depends on what side of the fence you are. Yeah, so it's hard to say.
There's a lot of constitutional considerations too.
There actually, sir, there is a uniformity in the federal, because they have FELA, Federal Employees Act. So that's nationwide. But that only deals with federal employees.
Any other questions, comments? No?
I'm kind of new into the HR field right now, but I just had a question with the e-verification thing. Maybe you can answer it too. I know it started, I think it was 2008, they started doing the e-verification, if I remember correctly. But anybody prior to that, now if you had an employee that was priorly hired, let's say in 2005, and you found out that, you know, they might be illegal, but you really don't know yet because you don't have any proof, could the employer be penalized for that?
I think the e-verification system was before '08 as well.
Okay. I think it was 06, if I remember. It's like 06 and 08.
Yeah, because they modified the forms. You know, doing
Yeah.
our research, we had some '05 forms and then some '08 forms there. I mean, if you comply, it's a gray area. I mean, it's a knowing violation. You
Yeah.
know for certain that this individual is an illegal alien. You're going to be penalized. Civil penalties. They say criminal penalties. I don't know if criminal penalties have ever been handled down. They call it debarment, where you're not allowed to get any further federal contracts. You're blacklisted essentially, and you don't get any more federal funds either if you violate IRCA. So penalties are in force and effect, but you have to do the diligence to check these illegal workers.
Now, when you said to contact the Social Security administration, I mean, is that something that E-Verify already does when you put in their social, or that's something totally separate from the E-Verification?
I think they'll run it through, yeah. When the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, they're the ones that came up with the I-9 form and the e-verifications. They took it over, obviously. So they'll run, you fill out the form, it's in the handout, and then they'll run that number. They'll contact you or send you correspondence and saying, hey, this number's hit 4 times. We don't believe
Because
this.
there was a situation that happened where he was ran through, he passed his e-verification, all of a sudden we got a call from somebody else saying that they live in Michigan with the same social.
Okay.
And it's under investigation, police are handling it, obviously.
Right.
But, I mean, he got through e-verification. How is the system really helping us out?
Yeah,
That's what's making me nervous.
it's questionable.
Because, I mean, I'm new to the company. I'm just learning stuff, and all of a sudden, within like first month
Issues
later,
are popping
I'm getting a
up.
call from the police. I'm like, what is going on?
Right, right.
You know what I mean? I understand that
Sure.
obviously there's companies that have done it before that have had this issue because it is something that happens all the time. That before this e-verification, whether it's good or not, it still doesn't matter. These documentations that they bring in, I mean, you can't. It's so hard to really tell. It is so hard.
Absolutely.
I mean, do you know of any classes that maybe I could get? Or honestly, I can't find anything, and it's nerve-wracking to me being somebody new into the field that it's like, am I going to hire somebody that's illegal that has everything, has the same, everything's looking like my Social Security card? That's
Right.
like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to get penalized because I signed papers.
And a lot of employers in HR, they get duped by these documents. They look just as valid. Passports, driver's license, social security numbers. They look just as valid as your and I's. But, it comes down to as long as you dot your I's, cross your T's, you do everything you have to do, you won't be held accountable.
Yeah, and if I do find out that they're illegal, I can terminate them.
If you
Only
have...
if, like, obviously, if the police came and said, I have documentation showing that somebody's got a social in Michigan and you got a social here, this person's probably illegal.
Yeah, you're given that authority as long as you have legitimate
Okay.
proof that the...
But it's not like saying, like, an employee comes up and they're just upset about somebody saying, hey, you know what, I think she's illegal.
Right. Let's
That
get
can't
rid
be,
of this problem
obviously.
child. Right,
Okay.
you
I
can't
just
do that.
didn't know.
I would be careful what you put in writing,
Right. Yeah, oh
in
yeah.
all seriousness.
Yeah, it is,
Because
it's very...
if knowledge is imputed to you, it goes to the employer, and they'll be in trouble.
Mhm.
So unless it's verified that these rumors are correct,
Right.
I would not put them in writing.
Okay.